So, obviously you're thinking about going into the Army. And you're like, well, what better job than to be a medic? So, we're going to talk about some pros and some cons, but a lot of the cons aren't necessarily like deal breakers. Nothing's a deal breaker, right? But we'll get into it. So, you're probably thinking, okay, I want to do something in the medical field, or maybe I just don't know what to do. And a medic sounds cool because people throw around the word combat medic, right? Not every medic is a combat medic, and I guess that's going to be kind of controversial.
What do you say? What do you say?
Everyone's trained as a combat medic. That's part of your AIT, right? It's broken into two phases. It'll be your EMT phase and then your whiskey phase, right? Because it's a 68 whiskey. So first phase, you do your NREMT. Past that, you go to your second phase, and it's going to be kind of the combat training, the casualty, stuff, less medicine, more combat oriented injuries and what all have you. Number one, best thing, you get to help people.
I just want to help.
So I'm assuming that you're someone that cares at least a little bit about other people, and it's rewarding to you whenever you actually get to help others. So that's number one. That's going to happen. If you graduate AIT and you go to your unit, you're going to be helping people. Even in training, I mean, there were people that we had whenever we went through AIT, it was still pretty hot. So some of that stuff that you learn, it's going to be, I'm not going to say going to be, but it can help out, right? You're going to do your AIT down in Fort Sam Houston, so it's in San Antonio, Texas. A lot of the people that are from up north aren't used to the heat down here in Texas, so you may have the opportunity to help people a little bit sooner than you think. Secondly, you get your EMT certification. For some people, they come in, maybe they just have a GED, they didn't have a diploma, so that's going to be a big thing. Getting licensure or certificate, it's a good thing, right? Because you can use that in the civilian world as well whenever you get out, or if you're going guard or reserve, you can go out as soon as you graduate. I believe you have to register in your state. I'm from Texas, so I ended up already having it because you do your NREMT training in Texas at Fort Sam Houston. All right, so number 3, you're going to get a lot of experience. It's going to depend on what type of unit you go to. You go to a medical unit, you go to engineer unit, you can go to artillery, infantry, and a bunch of other different ones.
So many different kinds.
So each one of those units, you're going to get a bit different of an experience just based on how medics are incorporated into that unit. But you also get the chance to do additional training. So, for me, I graduated AIT, went to my unit. I ended up going to engineer unit. And then you have the option to go to, get your PALS, your ALS. You can even go to paramedic school, and then you can do like odd, you can go to Maryland to the Aberdeen Proving Grounds, and you can do additional CBRN training and how to treat casualties in kind of a CBRN scenario. That's something that I would say, side note, very important for you to read up on your own and do training on your own, or just like know more about it, because in AIT, and then depending on what unit you're in, you're not really going to learn more, and some of that knowledge just kind of floats away. So that's going to be something that's on you to keep up with, and we'll get into stuff like that later on. You can do hearing tech certificates, some dental training, canine training. You can be a well-rounded person by the time you get out if you take full advantage of those. And then obviously you get your regular Army school, so Air Assault, Airborne. You can go to Ranger school. You can go to Sapper school, even as a medic. So keep that in mind. You also get the, not the option, but you get the pleasure to work under different providers. So maybe you work under a doc, a doctor, or a PA, or a nurse practitioner. And even the nurses, the amount of knowledge that you can kind of absorb from them is amazing. And hopefully you have a good provider that you work under or that you fall under, and they're really good about training and explaining to you stuff, and they kind of build you up. That way they can leave you to, I wouldn't say run solo, but they'll give you a little bit more leeway. They'll train you up on stuff that you weren't necessarily trained on in AIT, and then you'll start being able to kind of guide the provider.
I am the captain now.
And say, hey, I believe it's this. And then they're either going to tell you, wow, that's great, or no. I remember on deployment, I thought this dude had a DVT, deep vein thrombosis. And I was not right at all. Far from right. I'm not even going to get into it, but it was something that I'd never heard. He ended up having some issues in the past with like a lymph node, and he had surgery, blah blah blah. But it was not DVT. So sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. You get college credits. So I would say while you're in, take full advantage of going to school for free. Some of y'all are like, oh, well, I'm just going to use my GI Bill. GI Bill's amazing. However, use, I think it's TA. Use your tuition assistance. Go ahead, and there's one university, I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. If you're already in, go ahead and ask someone that's still in, because they're going to know for sure. But I believe it's like 2 semesters or semester, and they use all of your military credits, especially because you're a medic, and you'll be able to get your associates super quick.
Are you proud of me?
Another benefit is because medics are needed in every single unit, from what I know, you can go to a plethora of units like we already hit on, but that also means that you can go to any duty station. So for example, if you're like artillery, you're not going to be able to go to every duty station. Not every duty station has artillery. So that's just something to keep in mind. You're not limited to just one place or a handful of places. You can go pretty much to any military installation. It doesn't even have to be Army. So I know some people that went to like naval bases, some went to Italy, some went to Japan, a lot went to Korea. If you know, you know. So that's another benefit. A lot of the time, I'm not going to say all the time, but the majority of the time, your medical section is going to be, at least in my experience, it's going to be a little bit more relaxed than per se like an infantry unit or just like any line unit, I guess. So usually your line units are like super structured, but obviously you're going to still treat your NCOs as NCOs, your officers as officers. You're going to maintain military discipline and stuff like that, but it's a little bit more relaxed sometimes, most of the time, from my experience. I was an NCO as well, and I was way more chill. I was like the cool uncle, So that's an up. That's a positive.
I'm a friend of your mom. I'm Napoleon's uncle, Uncle Rico.
With that said, you're a lot of the times, as long as you're not in a medical unit, I can't speak for being in a medical unit. I was never in one. But if you're on a line unit, they'll treat you, I'm not going to say like great, but they'll take care of you. Yeah. I want to say great, but I don't want to like get your hopes up.
Christmas. This is for you, my little Cheyenne. That's a good boy. That's a good boy.
I loved the people in my units, and they treated me great, and I in turn tried to treat them just as great. Right? You're doc, so a lot of the times you're the only medical person in that area, and the relationship that you build with your soldiers, and I say your soldiers because you have to take care of them. Even if you're a brand new private, that's going to be something you take care of everybody. It doesn't matter if they're a private. It doesn't matter if they're lieutenant, sergeant first class, staff sergeant, even sergeant major. You're gonna see them all. I mean, up to generals. I remember I was doing a round at the TMC, and a 2-star walked in, and I was like,
Everybody run!
so rank doesn't matter. Everyone is your soldier. So the not so good, and some of these aren't bad, right? Some aren't, they're not like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this anymore. But it's just things that you have to keep in mind. So number one, if you're going to go to a medical unit, and again, I say this low-key kind of blindly because I was never a part of one, but it's just kind of from what I saw.
She doesn't even go here.
Right? Not being in one. Because when you're on a line unit or like a combat unit, you're kind of like one of the only medical people, right? And they take care of you. They know whenever stuff hits the fan, you're the person that's going to take care of them. Whenever you're in a medical unit, everyone else is medical as well. So you're not special. I'm not saying that you're going to be treated special whenever you're on a line unit. More than likely, you're going to be treated a little bit differently. But in a medical unit, everyone else is the same. Obviously, you still have like your other, admin, cooks. You have your other like support MOSs there, but there's a lot more of you than there is of anyone else. So may not be great, but there were some sharp people that came out of medical units that I met, because everyone is medical. You pick up and learn a lot from a lot of other people. If you don't have a great like training NCO whenever you're in a line unit, or you don't have a good provider that actually cares about making sure that you're trained up, it's going to be up to you. And if you don't hold yourself accountable, it's bad for you, one, because what you don't keep training on and shoveling back into your mind, you're just going to lose it, right? Whatever you don't practice, you lose. I'm sure there's a better way to say that, but that's what I'm getting at.
Use it or lose it, old friend. You losed it.
I guess you need to stay on your training. So not only do you need to do it for yourself, but you need to do it for others, because hopefully nothing like that happens, but one day possibly you're going to be that person, and what you know and what you trained on and what your muscle memory kicks in at that point is going to be on you. And if you don't hold yourself accountable, it's going to show. And unfortunately, that can affect other people in a very bad way. So keep that in mind. Hold yourself accountable. SRP days, right? So SRP is like Soldier Readiness and Preparedness, or Soldier Readiness Program. Again, please forgive me, it's been a while. But they're long days, super long days. And you're running a company or two companies or a battalion or a battery, depending on what unit you're in. You're running them through there, right? And you're getting, questionnaires done. You're running check in, check out. You're doing height and weight. You're doing vision. You're doing vitals. You're prepping them to go talk to the provider. All of this stuff. I'm sure I've missed something, but it's kind of all on like the medical section for the medical part, right? There's still admin and stuff like that, but the medical part is a huge deal. Labs, again, forgot that one. But those are just super long days, and sometimes it can be stressful if you don't have all your medics there, because you really need a full group, full section to make sure that everything runs smoothly. I say that, but there's been a couple times where it was like me and 3 other people or 2 other people, and we ran it, right?
Dream team?
And it went smooth for what we could do. But SRP days, boo, right? One of the biggest things that will really take its toll on you is you're on the clock 24/7. So depending, right? From doing CQ, if you don't know what CQ is, you gon' find out. Whether you're on CQ, people know that you're a medic, and if something happens, they're going to be looking at you immediately, right? If you're not on CQ and you live in the barracks, if something happens, they know where you are, so they're going to come get you. It doesn't matter if you were sleeping. If you're in the field, when you're in the field, when you're at a range, there's no downtime, right? You can be doing an overnight range, or you can be out in the field. It doesn't matter if it's 3 a.m. and by some chance you're able to sleep. You know, I've been woken up like, I can't even count. I've been woken up so many times, and some are just like having NCOs walking up like they're a little kid, you know, they just walking up to wake up their parents like, I just threw up. Homie, I'm sorry, but whatever's in you needs to get out, right? Obviously, you don't just say that. You be a good person, be empathetic, treat it like a regular patient, but just to have that image in your head, that's what happens frequently, right? If you're on deployment, same thing. I mean, I got exhausted. I mean, to the point where even my platoon sergeant pulled me aside. Shout out Sergeant Rogers, amazing NCO. I was just exhausted.
I'm tired. I'm just tired.
I mean, it was just non-stop, whether we were running missions and you know, you're doing mission prep, or you know, the anxiety of being on mission, you know, just waiting for something to happen, or going to the BAS that was on the FOB, you know, whenever A&A you would get hit, or you know, just stuff happening while we're in line for chow, right? We get back from a mission and then something happens. Someone is a heat cat, right? It got up to like 135 degrees in Afghanistan. So you're just always that person. People waking you up at night because their wrist hurts or stuff, you know, and it's gonna take a toll on you, and it's gonna be really difficult at times to remember. You have to be empathetic. Like, you have to treat the people. It doesn't matter if you think that they're a dirtbag. It doesn't matter if you think that it's nothing, right? Because you need to write everything down, right? You need to document everything. Documentation is everything. And don't be lazy, because just because it's easier for you not to document stuff, you're kind of screwing them over in the long end, you know, once they get out, because they need a paper trail of stuff, especially, you know, if it's truly affecting them. And maybe someone is, you know, you think someone's being a dirtbag, but there's actually something really wrong with them, and it can snowball into something big. And it's your job to treat everyone equally, treat everyone as if this is it. You know, I need to do my actual job, regardless of how you feel, right? Because it just takes that one time that you think someone's playing around or just being weak, and it spirals into something bigger, right? Keeping your certs up, right? So making sure that you do all your table 8s, your CUs, stuff like that. Other people get to just kind of coast through the Army. They don't have any licenses or certificates to like continuously maintain. That's going to be not the biggest thing, because you kind of get out away from your battalion or company, battery, whatever, for a little bit whenever you go do those classes. So I never complained about it, but it is just something extra to keep into your mind, right? Make sure that you stay up, because if you let it lapse, it's going to be a big thing. Ask me how, I know.
Oopsie!
And then obviously the biggest thing, some things that you see, right? Hopefully you don't get really bad casualties and stuff like that. But sometimes obviously you know what you're getting into, and it's easier to say that, oh, it doesn't bother me, and it may not right then. You know, if you're trained up and, you know, you're hardcore, I wouldn't even say you don't have to be hardcore. Like, if you're trained up and, you know, things naturally, your training takes over and you just go to town, right? But after that fact, you think about things that you see, and that's, I would say, probably the biggest thing, or like the thing that affects people the most is, could I have done something differently? What if I didn't do this? What if I did do this? Just beating yourself up. You know, I would say, one, beating yourself up, and two, not letting go of what you just saw. I would say that's probably the most affecting thing, I guess, that I can say, and like the biggest downfall. And going to therapy, talking to people, talk to your leadership. Like, there's people out there that have seen it all, right? You know, I've seen some stuff, but I know there are people out there that have seen way more than me. And it's just important to communicate with other people. And it's important to know that at the end of the day, you're a human being. You have emotions. You know, I'm not the most emotional person at all, right? But things still get to me. I still think about things. So that I would say is the biggest thing. But all in all, amazing, super rewarding job. 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10, right? Everything has its downsides, but at the end of the day, it's a super rewarding job. Yeah. Again, you get your certificate out of it. You get some licenses. You can take additional courses and get other things, titles or certificates, whatever you want to say. Additional training that you can carry on to the civilian world. You get real world experience, even if you don't deploy, right? Deploying is, yeah, everyone wants to do it. Yeah, it was cool, but going to the range, stuff can happen. Walking to the PX, something can happen. Being in the field, and I say something things do. Like, you're gonna get real world experience whether you're stateside or deployed. It's just gonna vary a little bit different. But there's some guys that, you know, I look to and I ask questions, and they've never deployed, but they're super sharp. They have a lot of real world experience. You get to do cool things. You are treated fairly, I guess you could say. And again, it's just a super rewarding job in the military. 100%. I would say I'm an advocate, other than like aviation, I would say this is numero uno. And even aviation, yeah, I would say aviation, being a medic, you know what I'm saying? They're close, but I would still vouch for RMOS. So go ahead, if you have any other things you want to throw into this video, comment down below. If there's anything you think that I missed, if there's things that you think that these new baby medics should look out for or be happy or excited about, go ahead and drop that comment below. Remember, like the video, subscribe, because we're going to be coming out with a couple more videos like this.